All right, I called in this one this morning. Let's get my share screen up so I can read from it. Here we go. All right, Hexagram 61. Inner truth. I called in lines 1 and line 6. We'll get those. And here we go. Inner truth. Hexagram 61. The judgment. Inner truth. Pigs and fishes. Good fortune. It furthers one to cross the great water. It furthers one to be firm and correct. In this hexagram, the sage speaks of inner truth in two fundamental ways: as the treasure chest of inner truth that each person is born with, which he is meant to rely on, and as the truth within situations. And as the truth within situations, it must be found before a correct decision can be made about how to relate to them. In regard to the latter, decisions made purely on the external appearance of a situation create a long chain of negative consequences that include continuing conflict, entanglements, injustices, and a litany of further misunderstandings. Pigs and fishes is a metaphor for the totality of our physical senses, which, when combined, speak as our common sense. Good fortune refers to the result of going by one's common sense in the conduct of one's life. The totality of our senses comprise, for example, inner seeing of meditation that leads to insight, and outer seeing, as when we look to the world around us. Other inner senses, not so often considered, are inner listening, as in phrases that come as mind flashes, inner smelling, as when a person is said to follow his nose, or when something smells wrong, or inner taste, when we say, life has a good taste, or that experience leaves me with a bad taste, and inner feelings, as when something feels harmonious or discordant. Common sense combines the perceptions of the inner and outer senses and then compares them with our inner truth. Every person possesses inner truth. It is the primal memory of what cosmic harmony feels like that we possess before we develop any memories of images and words. This memory is stored throughout our body in the chromosomes of each cell and constitutes our treasure chest of inner truth. Our inner truth is a reliable guide that common sense employs to find out what is harmonious or disharmonious in a situation. Common sense is expressed in the psyche as a feeling of yes or no, a feeling which is to be trusted and followed. Following one's common sense leads to the good fortune mentioned, for common sense is in harmony with the cosmos. It is our common sense that helps us recognize the true nature of things with clarity. This contrasts with the mistaken idea fostered by the collective ego that is our intellectual abilities alone that brings clarity, that it is our intellectual abilities alone that brings clarity. See glossary of the senses. What helps a person assess whether something is true is his listening first to the yes or no conveyed by his common sense. He can then consult the sage to understand the situation's particulars with the help of a hexagram and the RTCM. The inner truth of each situation is unique and cannot be known purely from looking at its appearance. That is because the truth of each moment is shaped by the private thoughts of each person. Furthermore, presence of projections, spells, and poison arrows needs to be known. Indeed, the present moment is often influenced by negative elements that have been put on the past, which are still acting out. The inner truth of a situation can only be found with the help of the sage. Learning it and saying the inner no to the disharmonious elements in that situation initiates transformations. Transformations, in turn, lead to duration, whereas changes made through external efforts cannot endure. It furthers one to cross the great water, stands for recognizing and counteracting dangerous ideas that have formed spells and poison arrows, and are blocking us from access to the truth that lies within ourselves. Being firm and correct refers to the process of identifying and ridding ourselves of these spells and poison arrows. Among the dangerous ideas that prevent access to a person's inner truth are those that say truth is only to be found outside ourselves. Truth is difficult to find. Intelligence helps one find the truth. Truth can be found through gaining knowledge. Truth can be found through following a spiritual leader. To look within oneself for the truth is dangerous. Introspection is selfish. When it comes down to the base of all beliefs, the truth is the same. The inner truth in one person has the ability to energize another's inner truth without external effort. I'll read that again. The inner truth in one person has the ability to energize another's inner truth without external effort. Also, when a person is in harmony with his inner truth, he is protected and defended by the cosmos. A person who is not in harmony has holes in his natural defenses which stimulate unsavory elements in others. These holes are mistaken beliefs stored in his psyche which have made him doubt his inner truth. The egos in other people know intuitively in which areas of awareness these holes exist and rush to take advantage of them. The lines. Line 1. Being prepared brings good fortune. If there are secret designs, it is disquieting. Secret designs here refers to a person who has a specific intention which he is about to carry out. This line advises a person that he needs to be prepared for another's intention to encroach into his space and into his learning process to influence him according to his opinions. It can also concern a person who believes, after having found his own inner truth about a matter that concerns others of his group, that it is his duty to bring them to his own understanding. Such a person does not trust that others can get in touch with their own inner truth because he views them as ignorant or underdeveloped. His view puts a projection, spell, or poison arrow on those around him and on the situation. If the person about to be encroached upon will say the inner no to the other's intention, he will remain free of these negative influences. Similar secret designs, which come from a person's looking down on nature, can cast projections, spells, and poison arrows on nature. The person is unaware of the harmful effects of his attitude, and that by casting harmful views on nature, he is also harming his own nature. Receiving this line counsels him to review his back of the mind thoughts about nature and rid himself of them. An example is someone who looks at nature as matter which can be manipulated and extinguish at will, which he can manipulate and extinguish at will, and is something that needs to be controlled. Such a person looks at his body in the same way as a vehicle which he occupies and whose purpose is to get him about and fulfill his desires. This view of his own nature demonizes it and leads to illness. This line can also be warning a person of a projection or spell that has been placed on him by another, which is making him say or do things he does not want to do. The projection or spell consists of the prediction that he will behave in the precise ways indicated or always say certain things at given times. If he inquires of the sage through the RTCM who the person is and what has been projected on him, he can deprogram the projection or spell by saying the inner no to it. See, what are projections and spells? Line 2. A crane calling in the shade. Its young answers to it. I have a good goblet. I will share it with you. This line is a metaphor that describes how the conscious thought of one person, symbolized by the crane, when it is in harmony with his inner truth, penetrates involuntarily and without intention to the inner truth of another person. The young here symbolizes every person's inner truth. It does so out of the sight and hearing of the ego in another. Its effect is to strengthen the other's true self, the meaning of sharing the good goblet, therefore weakening the ego. The penetration can also refer to the inner no or to an inner message said to another, such as, help is available if you will ask the sage for it. The inner no and the appropriate inner messages initiate transformation through inner truth. The crane can also be a metaphor for the sage that comes to a person when he is in need, nourishing and supporting him. It does this through other people, through the inner voice, or through meditation. In its negative meaning, the crane in the shade can be a metaphor for a person who is looking for disciples, the shade here referring to his dark motives, by saying, I want to share the good message with you. If one follows that person, one would get involved in his fate. Receiving this line may be to alert a person to this danger, or that he may already be under the spell of that phrase and needs to free himself of it. Such a spell blocks a person's inner truth and brings him under the control of the other. He needs to realize that this person is not speaking from his inner truth, but from something that he himself has been told. In addition to freeing himself from the spell put on his inner truth, he may also need to free himself from a poison arrow that has come from the belief that he was born with original sin, blame, guilt. Generally, it is the presence of this belief that draws people to look to other. Generally, it is the presence of this belief that draws people to look up to others who promise to lead them to redemption. See, what are spells and poison arrows? Line 3. Now he sobs, now he sings. If he stops beating the drum, he finds a comrade. Here, a person sobs and sings alternately as he moves from hope to despair. He would like to follow the truth, but does not realize that the only real truth is his inner truth, which does not consist in words and phrases, but in his feelings of what is harmonious and what is discordant. Because he is looking for an absolute truth outside of himself, he finds only hope and despair. He may be running from one book of wisdom to another for relief, while what he needs to do is deprogram the idea that truth lies in words and phrases. The hope and despair mentioned above may also refer to a person's anticipation of his own death in order to attain peace. In order to attain peace, he needs to discover the inner truth that death is not an end to life. The fact that he is not at peace indicates that he is not in harmony with his inner truth. To stop beating the drum means to say the inner no to his belief that death is the end of life. Then the comrade, his inner truth, is freed, bringing him true happiness. See death. In order to free the access to his inner truth, he may also need to ask the sage to remove the poison arrow of original sin mentioned in the previous line. The moon, line 4. The moon nearly at the full. The team horse goes astray. Blame. The moon nearly at full represents half-truths that are implicit in the situation, which will lead the person concerned astray, causing blame. Pictured here is a team of horses, one of which has gone astray, bringing progress to a halt. This metaphor concerns a person who is experiencing a fate. That one of the horses has gone astray suggests that the less experienced student, who is being taught by the sage to trust his inner truth, has fallen prey to doubt. This person has been tempted by others who want him to follow a belief system by making him think it is identical with his inner truth. He may have adopted the idea that all belief systems point to the same truth and can be integrated to achieve harmony. The problem, however, lies in equating any established belief system with a person's inner truth. All belief systems are human created and based on half truths and myths which place humans as the central masters of the universe. Such a belief imagines humans as holding the reins of the universe. These beliefs act as frames of reference that shut synapses in the brain, imprisoning helpers of the invisible world and blocking the help of the sage. By contrast, inner truth creates new synapses to allow ever broader realizations and understandings. The team of horses can also be a metaphor for the two aspects of our life force, the light and the dark. They can become divided when a person looks up to another or up to a group, system, or belief. The division prevents the common sense from being able to create transformations, as described in Hexagram 16, Enthusiasm, line 3. The team horses going astray can also represent a situation in which a person's mental faculties are turned to the service of the ego, leading the whole personality astray. When this occurs, the harmony of the team, that is to say, of the psyche and body, is lost. When the mental faculties lead, they put projections, spells, and poison arrows on people and on the person himself, causing blame and, if continued, lead to a fate. This line can also refer to a person's using the I Ching for ego purposes, as when he reads the hexagrams and lines to confirm the viewpoint of the ego. The team horse goes astray can also refer to a person's forgetting his dependency on the sage as the source of his inner independence. This happens when he credits the good things that have happened to his own doing. He forgets his relationship with the invisible world thus incurs blame, which is experienced as feelings of isolation. I'm going to read that paragraph again. The team horse goes astray can also refer to a person's forgetting his dependency on the sage as the source of his inner independence. This happens when he credits the good things that have happened to his own doing. He forgets his relationship with the invisible world, thus incurs blame, which is experienced as feelings of isolation. A person can also receive this line when he has either assumed he knows what the problem is or that he knows the truth of the matter and so does not need to understand more. This is the ego's work, preventing him from looking deeper for the problem and preventing him from discovering that not he, but the ego is in charge. The ego in him is in charge of his personality. So long as the ego leads, the person's efforts to solve the problem will go in the wrong direction. The person can determine with the help of the RTCM whether this is the case. The RTCM can also help him gain a true assessment of the problem and find its true causes. To prevent himself from continuing to follow the ego, he needs to find the phrases that make him a slave of its authority. Line 5. He possesses truth, which links together. No blame. Line 5. This line expresses the way inner truth creates an inner link between people. In this inner link, there is no blame. This line also makes us aware that inner truth links our physical makeup together harmoniously. As mentioned in the main text, inner truth is imprinted in the chromosomes of each cell of the body. When, however, a person receives the poison arrows mentioned in lines 3 and 4, or certain other poison arrows created by mistaken ideas, see Hexagram 16, Enthusiasm line 3, the harmonious linking of the chromosomes is disturbed, blocking his inner truth. At the same time, his common sense gets locked up, resulting in abnormal bodily conditions. This line may also speak of the person who thinks he possesses the truth and therefore thinks he is without blame. What such a person misses is that the truth, as fixed as immutable words, thought to be applicable to every circumstance, does not exist. If he relies on such truths to link him with others, he will succeed only in acquiring a mental link with them, because this link makes no connection between their hearts. The unity is a fiction. Line 6. Cock crow penetrating to heaven. Perseverance brings misfortune. This line describes a person who blindly follows the path of a leader and crows that he is in the know or thinks that he has discovered a truth. In reality, however, he has only discovered a half truth. Half truths are statements in words that cannot be confirmed by inner truth. See glossary, half truth. The crowing cock can also refer to someone who forces his habits and beliefs on others and attempts to make them move according to his rules. Such person opens wide the door to fate, which is the meaning of perseverance brings misfortune. Then my own personal reflections on this. For me today, I called in line 1 and line 6, and just wrapping up with that line 6 there, like being the crowing crow, the crowing cock. I'll get there. And how that's been a recurring theme in my life, where I will onboard somebody's truth, take it as my own, and then start crowing assuming that, oh, this is the way, this is the truth, this is the thing. And then that's opened me up for fates time and time again where I'll believe that that's the truth and then lock that in as that's my truth and I need to share it with everyone because who wouldn't want to know the truth, right? Who wouldn't want to awaken or ascend or become more than what they are? And then in that, I onboard this egoic rule kit, which feeds my own identity that I'm being helpful, like I'm being needed. Like who am I if I'm not being needed, right? And that sense of being needed, the ego hijacks and it makes you do things and in the personal development world, like it makes you sign up for things where I know for me in my own journey where I've signed up to so many things and like I've actually thrown out a whole bunch of books in the last couple of weeks, old coaching books, ways to like get me to six figures or seven figures, all these strategies and techniques that are um, like by Russell Brunson and Rich Litvin, and I got some of their old books here that I still need to throw out. And what I can see here is that the fear of, well, can I just do it on my own? And then the words from the collective ego saying that, oh, you know, can't do it on your own. Wouldn't you want to follow someone who's been successful with this in the past? Don't you want to follow someone who knows more than you do? And what happens is the collective ego, and I've spoken about this in another one, and then the I Ching talks about this. The collective ego supports itself, right? It supports itself where it wants you to do the things that it tells you to do because then that way it can perpetuate itself. It's its own self-perpetuating thing. And then the line one piece in here for me, I've mentioned this in podcasts before, like where I was in the transhumanist movement. And the transhumanist movement looks down on nature. Like death is a fallacy, and we can live forever. And then transhumanists view people who encourage death as deathists, where you just have a death wish, like you just want to die, because the transhumanist movement implies that after death, that is it. And then the religion will advertise that after death is the best. It's a better life after death. Like when you die, you go to heaven or you're punished by hell. And then in Islam, you can have virgins and you can have all these things, which appeals to men, right? All these virgins of bounty, right? And then Christianity appeals to all that ego. Like you create treasures in heaven, right? And when something espouses or advertises that life is better after death, that's a lie. It's a lie to keep you trapped in the matrix, the egoic matrix, that who you are right now in this reality is life. And by looking down on nature, by looking down on life, like the physical body, you incur a fate. You know, your body starts to shut down, your vitality decreases. You start attracting people into your life that want to take that vitality away because you're not respecting it, you're not honoring it, right? I also find that I've been looking down upon nature when I felt like I needed to save it. Like, oh, I need to recycle to save the environment. I need to not eat meat to stop the carbon footprint, right? I need to do this, I need to do that. I need to save nature because nature is a helpless thing that can't take care of itself. And that's the thing, is nature can take care of itself. Nature is its own being. And the human-centered view of the world will look at all the studies and the evidence and the anthropological climate change. You just assume that, oh, humans are the issue. It's like, sure. And what the I Ching speaks to is it's so much bigger than that. You're not the center of the universe. We are not the center of the universe. We are not center of the earth. We are part of an ecosystem. And that ecosystem is beyond what our current comprehension has. And that's okay because we're all in this flow of life together to either connect to this inner truth, which is in the chromosomes. And I've spoken about this in Gene Key 55 speaks to this. A lot of the Gene Keys speak to this. This I Ching speaks to this. And it speaks to it in a less poetic way. It speaks it to a more pragmatic way, I feel, this I Ching. But the history that's in the body speaks to a lot of the other modalities that are out there, including like quantum type healing, quantum biology, uh, the homeopathy, where when you start speaking to the cells, like the mitochondria, and I've done meditations before that speak to people's mitochondria and help them remember their inner truth. And they might get a download or a remembering or something that's left field for them, because those practices take you into a meditative state where you're listening to the body. And in that, what the I Ching doesn't speak to, or I haven't come across it yet, is eating to numb the body, and or doing something else to numb the body, because what your inner truth is telling you is uncomfortable. Or you've been taught so long to ignore the inner truth and doubt your inner truth that you look outside of yourself. Like, I've thrown out decks of cards because they're not my inner truth, because they frame my inner truth through a landscape of whatever the card is, like whether it's the tarot or something else. So those oracle cards, they limit the bandwidth, and they just keep reaffirming to the ego. They keep appealing to the ego. All appeal to the ego at some subtle level, because you're looking for the bias of confirmation. You're looking for the bias that, oh, I am on the right path, I am doing the right thing. And if they were designed in the model of the collective ego, then it's going to give you an answer that's going to keep on perpetuating that same loop. Like, yeah, I need to check to see if these cards need to tell me if I'm going to get into this next relationship or not. Yeah, good. The cards are telling me exactly the same thing that I thought. This next relationship's going to be, it's going to have its challenges, but I'm going to come out on the other side with some new lessons. It's like, great. Wasn't that like all of your other relationships in the past? So I I'm no longer encouraging people to use the decks of cards and things to find their inner truth. For me, you just need to find whatever your inner truth is. And if that includes going through cards, then that's your pathway that you need to. But if you're getting stuck, then I recommend checking out the I Ching. And if you're listening to this, I'm assuming that you're already doing that or curious about it, or you've been sent a link by someone who's got the link. But I'll keep on doing this. So every day or every couple of days, I'll be reading out the I Ching that I call in, that I cast in. I do it every morning as part of my spiritual practice to align my day and bring me awareness. And in the I Ching, I've spoken to this in other recordings, is I've got a list of people that I've checked against the RTCM, which is the retrospective 3-coin method, to see who's throwing poison arrows at me. And sometimes it's family members, sometimes it's clients, sometimes it's ex-clients, sometimes it's people that are just online, or friends that I haven't kept in contact with. But I just intuitively go into meditation, and if they pop up in there, I write their name down in my book, and then I get my 3 coins, throw my 3 coins with the question of, is this person is throwing or has thrown poison arrows that are stuck in me? And I either get an assortment of yeses or nos, and that gives me the answer. And I'll just say no to that energy from that person. I don't need to reach out to them, send them a text message, throw them darts back, get all stuck in the ego feelings of, how could this person be throwing arrows at me? It's like, it's part and parcel of where we are and what we're doing. When you learn to say that inner no, it builds a very strong inner no inside of you. And you can say it to anything, from institutions to things that are wanting to take away your sovereignty, right? And this is a different kind of sovereignty journey. We're going on this is an inner sovereignty first. We're creating inner sovereignty first through the feelings and honoring the body, as opposed to trying to go out there and creating our sovereignty through laws and all that other techniques that other sovereign communities try and create. Anyway, that's what I got for you. Thank you for listening. Mad love. Bye.